Hello, welcome to my podcast about girl physics and why girls shouldn't be restricted by the laws of physics. Here are some quick dimensions of Xena, the warrior princess, all 6 feet and 200 pounds of pure muscle. Here you'll find a reference of how I calculated various lengths and her center of mass. First up, an exploration of why you shouldn't let a silly thing like insufficient velocity hold you back from your dream horizontal displacement. Here Xena pulls back and lifts up this 53-kilogram chandelier to get enough momentum to not only knock down Ares, the god of war, but proceed to fly across the room while doing some fun acrobatics. We love that for her. Lifting this chandelier requires 519.4 newtons of vertical force and is the equivalent of deadlifting 117 pounds. She does this while standing on the table, as beautifully illustrated by my talented hand, to achieve a vertical displacement of the chandelier of just under 1 meter. This results in a potential energy of 1,026 joules when accounting for their combined mass of 143 kilograms. When she swings down, her peak velocity is 4.368 meters per second. Because Ares is a god, he can change his mass at will, so his mass during this collision is 70 kilograms. If you think that's cheating, well, so is being a god. He basically just drops like a stone after this collision, so his final horizontal velocity is only 0.12343 meters per second. Xena's velocity after this collision is only barely decreased to 4.272 meters per second. According to the math, the distance she covers is at most 2.63 meters. Any more than that, and she will have had to lift the chandelier a lot higher. This discrepancy between what is mathematically possible and what we observe is what I like to call dark momentum. In this next section, we'll question the hypothesis of gravity. Here we see Xena jump to a bar 3.2 times her own height. This has an impulse of 748.7 Newton seconds and requires 3,115 joules of work. The power output of this jump is the equivalent of a 5-horsepower engine. Now we'll really get into the theology of physics. Here we see Ares get his ass absolutely handed to him. Starting with Xena's jump, she has to exert a force of negative 882 newtons with a vertical velocity of 5.476 meters per second and a horizontal velocity of only 0.895 meters per second. Once Xena has the high ground, she kicks down at a 60-degree angle from the horizontal 18 different times without losing any momentum. Her total velocity, initial and final, is 1.789 meters per second. How, you might ask? Well, Ares decided it would be smart to drop his mass down to 0 to fight on these pulls, and he would be right if he didn't know who he was up against. So Xena took advantage of the lack of mass, but presence of matter, and kept up her horizontal momentum while bouncing off him vertically. Not convinced he has no mass? Check out this massless behavior. Despicable. And now for the most ridiculous goddamn thing ever. God, I love this show. Xena runs a distance of 4 meters before jumping onto the spear stuck in the ground. Just before she jumps, her horizontal velocity is 4.44 meters per second. When she jumps, her vertical velocity right after leaving the ground is 5.49 meters per second with a force of 882 newtons. As she jumps, she pivots 45 degrees, so by the time she gets her first kick in, her vertical velocity is 0 and her horizontal velocity is 2.22 meters per second due to the friction of turning on the spear. Each man she kicks is assumed to be an average of 100 kilograms including armor, and she kicks them each with a force of 1,000 newtons at a 45-degree angle. This pushes each man back at a velocity of -2 meters per second while propelling Xena onward in the circle. Each kick gives her an angular acceleration of 89.93 radians per second, but during each 45-degree wedge of the circle where she's moving between people, she has an angular acceleration of -4 radians per second. This means her velocity right before each kick is 2.22 meters per second, or 1.44 radians per second, and her velocity right after each kick is 4.44 meters per second, or 2.89 radians per second. Additionally, the torque of each collision is 1,728.4 newton meters, and the torque from the friction is -946.7 newton meters, so her total torque is 781.7 newton meters. Once the spear is broken and Xena is flung asunder, she has a horizontal velocity of 4.44 meters per second and a vertical displacement of 1.5372 meters. She travels 2.49 meters before landing on this poor guy, and by then she has a vertical velocity of 5.49 meters per second. The force of her landing is 4,941 newtons, which to him feels like 504 kilograms was placed on his back. For reference, only 3,300 newtons is needed to break a rib, so this guy's spine is now bone meal. Thanks for watching this episode of Girl Physics. Tune in next time when we'll discuss how the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise is superhero movies for boats.